called uncode, or code of ethics, however you want to define it. I always wanted to look, and that's what took me like to look at the definitions of things and make sure I'm not muttering the line when it comes to appropriately addressing things how they should be, right? And so I looked at this whole thing of on code, and it's basically defined as a way that you differentiate your interaction with certain individuals based on culture and race, specifically. And what I mean by that is you have your at work voice. Oh, hi, Bob. How's everything going? All right, great. That's good to see you. All right, yeah. Which particularly most of us have. Black, white, whatever the case may be. Then there's another voice that we have. And that other voice is the voice that we use when we're talking amongst each other. Now that's the problem. The voice we use amongst each other nowadays seems to be something of a lot of lack of respect within it. And what I mean by that is we talk to each other as if we don't care about each other, you know. And I say, well, if this on-code rhetoric is supposed to be taken seriously, this on-code rhetoric is something that's supposed to be implied to get ahead. That's what I'm speculating, is to get ahead. So in actuality, it kind of sounds like cooning. You know what I mean? To me. This type of interaction that people take, they voluntarily do it. See, you don't have to do this. You don't have to be at work and tap dance in front of people and pretend you're something that you're not. You know, take a shot here and there for the boss and co-employee. You don't have to do this. But a lot of people choose to do it. They choose to do it for years, decades. As long as it'll go. And they do it specifically because of pure simple fact. They ask themselves, what's better than this? Does that sound familiar? What's better than this? Well, I'm going to wait for the plantation. Why? Because what's better than this? What somebody say here? Davin, what you think about the verse with the Locks versus Dipset? I did a whole live on that, man. Go check it out. It's down below. But to answer it real quickly for you, because you are a viewer, I thought it was phenomenal. I'll say what I said, and I'll say it again. I was hitting Tony Moxberg, who's part of D Block, and I was hitting Jada Kiss too, on this on tags. And but Tony Moxberg I'm more familiar with. And it was funny because I was saying at the time, I was like, these niggas are beating them with mixtape tracks. Unreleased mixtape tracks. I heard a couple unreleased mixtape tracks. Know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, if you do the timing perfectly, that night on my other social media, I ain't gonna say which one, but on my other social media, I actually typed in, I said, yo, y'all need to play Wild Out. Shut the whole shit down. And the only problem was they played it next. And shortly after I said that, had they waited to play that towards the end, they would have really put the nail in the fucking coffin. It would have been done. It would have been done. It would have been a done deal. Good night, let's go home. Now back onto this on code thing as you hear the police right behind me. See, this on code thing, when I heard it defined, and I heard it defined by a segment on TED Talks. And that's what grabbed my attention to it. I just been browsing, and I always encourage to go look at them because I like to check them out, see what they're talking about. But more importantly, I like the subject matter specifically of my interest. So I went and checked this out, and I said, oh, okay, and this is so articulately put by this black woman. Yeah, you heard me say it right, black woman. Not super nigga and crazy bitch. Not them two motherfuckers. Anyway, I watched this, and I heard it defined. And the first thing that came to my mind was, this sounds like some slavery shit. This sounds like some slavery shit. In fact, this same strategy was used back then that was implemented by other blacks. At that time. You don't believe me? Define mammy. 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 Hello, Mammy. How you doing, Mammy? I'm so hungry, Mammy. Won't you fix us something, Mammy? Mammy. Yeah, see, Mammy used to run a whole damn plantation just like this. You ever seen the movie 12 Years a Slave? I've mentioned this before. Hey, y'all go down in the basement now and get the good stuff. They drinking the good stuff now, you hear? Head now. Coralie. Coralie was in charge of all the slaves. Her and Stevie, they were in charge of all the slaves. Y'all hush up now. Y'all be quiet now. You saw when Stevie walked into the kitchen, everybody shut up. You know that nigga, don't you? Yeah, see, this is a strategy been put together for a long, long time. So what the fuck y'all gonna leave it alone? Being on code, off code, all this silly ass shit. Sound like a bunch of simulated motherfucking dummies. Know what I'm saying? That's what it sounds like. A bunch of simulated motherfucking dummies. Because only a dummy would be in the position. See, I don't think like that. I don't know if it's from working for black. I worked for blacks for 17 years. So don't ever come to me with that shit or, you know what I mean, question me about the culture and all that shit or whatever. I worked with the epitome of the best blacks in the business, point blank, period. Nobody beats him except for Jay-Z. So, you know, let's kill that argument real early. Nobody's beating Puff out except for Jay and Dre. That's it. That's a trifecta right there, if you don't understand. So I was taught by the best, came up under the best, and I came up under blacks. Well, I work for a white company? Of course I will. All the distributors in the 3 buildings we went through, Arista, Atlantic, and Interscope, those white-owned companies. Now, all that racism and all that dumb shit taken out to the side, let's get into the very effervescence of what this on-code bullshit is. And let's call it for what it is. It's a part of a simulation. Is it a simulated thought process that was taken from what you guys would call the Willie Lynch letters, which never existed, but actually were just a set of doctrines and suggestions you should do if you want to control your nevers. Oh no, the Willie Lynch letter never existed per se. The rhetoric of it put together was compromised, and people sure named it the Willie Lynch letter. It was actually Weiss and Shore named it that. The practices themselves. But they were never written. They were just practices suggested by different groups. You know, the Portuguese, the Spaniards, the English, all those were born in slavery. And you always have one negro that you award more than the others. You do that to keep him spry. Or mammy, keep her spry. I don't care what movie you watch. I don't care what movie you see. Mammy always run the house. The Smithsonian itself has some literature, an audio rather, that you might want to check out. There's accounts of released slaves, actual slaves. This was done in the 1920s throughout Louisiana, Mississippi, and a couple other states. Arkansas was another one of those states. And they interviewed these ex-slaves, and you hear their voices. These are real slaves. And they tell you about all the things that they went through, experiences they had. A few of them remember their parents talking about Africa, you know, things like that, where they were from in Africa, all that. Some of them even knew their language in Africa, which most African Americans come from, either Sierra Leone or that area, or Monrovia, which is in Sierra Leone. Most of African Americans are West African or Central Africa, most of them. Galilee, places like that. They surrounded these small peninsulas because they were always the first to battle over dominance. So yeah, you do come from war, people, in that sense. These were people that always fought for dominance, and when they lost, they were sold into slavery. When they wars among the tribes, whoever lost was sold into slavery to the Portuguese and the Spaniards. Some were raided, but most were prisoners of war, which you would call them in the modern day. Prisoners of war with no NATO treaty. A lot of these practices turn into tradition, in my opinion. traditions that were carried on from descendants of Mammy and Stephen, Coralie and Stephen. And these traditions are not only carried on, and I'll highlight one other moment. After they were walking back from Calvin Candy's funeral, his former mistress, now the one that thought she was so uppity, turned her nose at Django when he came in the Paul Parlor scene at the Mandingo fight. She said, apparently you help her now. Come on now, gal. When Django came back to the house and shoot up the whole house, who was running down the street? Mammy and her. Coralie was Mammy. Coralie was Mammy. And the girl that one of you saw, she was his mistress. She was his mistress, Calvin Candy, the master's mistress. Y'all gotta learn these terminologies when y'all symbolize this on code bullshit. Because really what it stands for is a simulation. You ain't on code. Does that mean that I'm supposed to talk like you in front at any given time and not articulate myself? Or does it mean that when I'm in the work environment, I got to tell you with my eyes or a suggestion or ignoring you or whatever, look, be around white folks now. Watch how you talk. Does it mean that? Because if that means that, I don't know how to do that. See, I'm the same person all the time. And it befuddles a lot of motherfuckers how smart I actually am in the end. And I love that edge about me. The reason I am the way I am is not because I was raised like that. It's my grandfather was the way he was. You know, my grandfather busted his ass after he came back from the service. He partnered with another black gentleman and they opened up a funeral parlor. All my mom's brothers and sisters, all 7, 8 of them went to college, military people, very proud Shriners. I went to Shriner meetings when I was younger. All of them at the freaking Elks. So we come from a military family and I believe good people. Definitive on whoever scope. I don't give a fuck who you are. It's my family, you know, fuck you if you don't like it. But nevertheless, I don't come from uneducated people. So when I hear this old shit, it reminds me of people that are subservient, people that are simulated, people that don't have very much of a margin as far as ideals, people that kind of depend on tribalism to be the narrative and the direction in life, you know? And whether that be for me, because in a certain point, this whole system of followers and following that I have on here on YouTube, and many of y'all have on your own individual spaces in the ecosphere of the internet, you know, depending on whatever vehicle you're utilizing the most, we all have to sit back and look at the definition of follower and followers and see how really in depth that actually goes. And this is why I say to you, and I'll say to you again, this whole on code terminology really easily translated, loosely translated, whether you call it code of ethics, whether you call it on code, off code, whatever the hell you want to define it at, it really in its core is a simulation. It's a simulation. It's being assimilated to the fact of knowing when, at one time, whether you were in the field or in the house. That's how it would be defined as. It is defined as whether or not you would be in the huts or whether you would be by the beach or whether you would be in the quarters in a Latin American country at the time, especially between the 1600s and I say all the way up to the Spanish-American War in some cases, you know, in some countries. So if you were living in any of those plateaus of the you know, Jamaica was another one that emancipated themselves from their slave catchers at one time, and they had an uprising. Also Haiti, and there was 2 other islands I can't think of. Oh, I know Brazil had their own revolt as well. These were people that didn't want to be assimilated. That's my point. These were people that refused to be assimilated. You understand? So you have to think very much in depth when you ask the question and it rises, whether or not how far assimilated are you willing to go. Now, some people have different definitions of assimilation. Some people think that marrying into a family or having a child wants somebody. that makes you assimilated. They never realize the influence of that other parent in the courtroom based just alone on their skin tone. Not in all situations, but in a lot of them. Meaning that it doesn't matter what the fuck, how articulate you think you are, how slick you think you are, or whatever. In a social sense, your word, unless your coin is long, will probably not override their just sheer appearance at that court date as a white parent and you being the minority other parent. Now that's if it's a heinous situation, if it's become insidious, if it's become to the point that it cannot be controlled. And now there's no talking or whatever, that's what will happen. So a lot of people take that approach. They say, I'll just go have a baby by somebody white. Now I'm in the culture. Which is, you have to question that person initially anyway, because that means you went and dated somebody of another culture based on what you thought would be the end game and the end run in the end. And that itself is kind of mentally disturbed. But a lot of people have this practice. It's a silly practice, but let them continue if they must. The second thing I want to point out when we're talking about this on code terminology is that a lot of people that do this or pronounce this or profess this or whatever, these are the same people that go on a day-to-day basis fucking with their own people. See, in a general space, most of them are cowards and they won't go fuck with white people. They won't go fuck with this person that oppressed them, that person that oppressed them. But then they preach this on code shit. Like it's this hood innuendo or some shit like that. And if I'm part of it, you must be part of it too. Never considering the fact of where someone may be in their life, whether or not that person has kids, whether or not that person has a family, whether or not that person was so much at one point at the extreme or the catalyst of that game that they just, you know what, bowed out. Now, I know a whole bunch of guys like that that just say, yeah, you know what, listen, I'm fucking 40 now. Why am I doing this anymore? You know, I'll let the 10, 15, and 20-year-olds do it. See where it gets you. You'll have your stories too. So-and-so got shot, my man and them. I went to a funeral. I've been doing all that shit. It's new for you. It's not new for me. To me, it's a fucking rerun. And that's the point. Why is it a rerun? Let's ask that question. Why is it a rerun? And why are any of these archaic-ass motherfuckers that are always online preaching this, you gotta be on code, and Brother Malcolm X said this, and the blah, 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 blah. Well, that was condensing to that time. And some of that stuff's still relevant now. A lot of it's still relevant what Malcolm said. What he said about liberals in particular is still relevant to this day. I don't give a fuck what you say. Oh, I can't stand a liberal. Democrats are 50-50 there. You know, at one time they were called the Dixiecrats. They have, you can go right now on images, all right? Anybody want to click off for a few moments, go back on and click on, you can. And what you'll see there, ironically enough, is a picture of the Dixiecrats. And the Dixiecrats will say very adamantly, the Dixiecrat Party is for the white man, while the Republican Party is for the Negro. Now, we all know, well, famously, that Frederick Douglass was a Republican. Now, I don't either side with either two, whatever, but at the same time, they both have their points. And I don't trust liberals. So I live in a very liberal state. I know this state like the back of my fucking hand. It doesn't matter what locale I'm in, you know. And it's amazing because the liberal sense, especially somebody named Joe Lieberman. Lieberman liberal. Lieberman the liberal. How about that? That's great. Joseph Lieberman, yes, he's been responsible for a couple of changes here in the state, but I mean, ultimately not. It was all in the direction of pushing liberal ideas and the crooked constituents that we've had in this state. Oh, we've had them all. From the Kennedys right here in Stamford, Connecticut, to Mayor Giordano out in, what was that, Waterbury, I think it was. He was having 13-year-old prostitutes brought to him, all the way to the governor at one time, Governor Rowland, who was heinous on crime and hasty on crime. And we got to lock him up to turn around and get locked up his fucking self. We had Mayor Eddie, so he was a victim of the same laws he advocated for. It was fucking hilarious. That was beautiful poetry if I'd ever seen it in my fucking life. Where the governor, you advocate for harsher crime sentences or whatever, which would have kept taxpayers in a certain bracket. See, a lot of taxpayers don't even know. When you're bitching and complaining about black people and Latin people getting locked up, and your taxes being so high to keep these people, well, won't you ask what the crimes they're getting charged for? A lot of these motherfuckers that are getting charged and locked up are in there for simple shit. Oh, well, they owe Taniqua $1,500. Well, Taniqua, how am I gonna get that $1,500 to you if I'm in fucking prison, you dumb fucking fuck? Does that make, I mean, even in a realistic world, I've never understood how that translates right. You want a guy to pay back some money, but you're saying, listen, you're gonna have to pay a bail and you're gonna have to pay the restitution of the money you owe to the state because we gave this broad food stamps for the past 15 years. But Your Honor, I never even wanted the baby, which is in most cases, and I understand, buddy, but you still gotta pay. Do you know how much it costs to keep that prisoner a year, taxpayers? And do you wonder why and this is coming from somebody that's now I exist as an entity, as a developer. They do that and they offset it by charging you higher taxes. And if you, and specifically property taxes and luxury taxes. Oh, they are the creme de creme of motherfuckers, because they fluctuate so much. You know, you got a $100,000 house, well, it's worth high in taxes, but if you got a $1.2 million house, like you've seen them when I've been around in Miami, Atlanta, every fucking where else, I've been in that shit since I was fucking 19, 20 years old. That's nothing new to me. Yes, you guys can see, obviously. Look who I worked for. The point is, these homes are taxed higher, especially right here where I live. I live in Fairfield County, so this is one of the most opulent counties in Connecticut. You know what I mean? This actually should be the capital of Connecticut, not that shitball Hartford. But that's another conversation. If you look at the current numbers right now, whether it be murders, whether it be whatever, okay? All across this nation, right now, currently. One thing you'll see in unison is the obligation to want to assimilate. I have never seen so much, this is in a sense of, theoretically, right? In a sense of all of history, with people being conformist and being assimilated to culture, to the point where if one person batches out in a tweet and says, hey, we're going to do this week, and everybody follows, then it gives a sheer definition of what the terminology is itself. Followers, I follow so-and-so. I follow this one. You'll follow whoever the fuck you want to with no free will intended or given based on the fact because the shit sounds good. And I know this shit because I sold the shit like this to motherfuckers for years. What do you think we were doing those albums? We were selling you a dream. That's what it's about. We're selling you a dream. You go see a movie, what it's about. It's an orchestrated caricature of motherfucking which we imagined. It's not real. But you motherfuckers think it's real. That's where the delusion plays in. See, assimilation, if you don't get what I'm saying, is at the core of this very conversation. Assimilation is at the very essence of this conversation. And the reason that is because of the pure simple fact, without assimilation, most of these ideals that are being put out there in a false narrative, a faux narrative, if you want to say, wouldn't even fucking exist. And the conduit, their vehicle is the internet. Because of the influence, for one, but more importantly, who you can become off the internet. And who knows that more firsthand than I do? I'm on my way to 1.8 million views now. You understand what I'm saying? So, if you tally in narcissism, assimilation, ambition, influence, and there's a dose of, I'm too dumb enough to think for myself, what a fucking fuck I turned out to be. Then you got the perfect fucking pet. You got the perfect fucking pet. That's basically what you equate to, a pet. A pet and a follower. And I have no room. A lot of people wonder why I have an attitude or whatever, because that sums people up very quickly. I lived in New York for years. I worked in New York for years. I worked in the entertainment business for years. So I sum people up very quickly. A lot of people don't expect that, I guess, from me. But don't understand my worth, evidently. I bet you're worth more on paper than you are. I tell motherfuckers that walk past me like that all the time. I'll be like, you know what? I used to sit around with guys like you got hired. You're still wearing that one? I love guys that think that wearing a suit makes them look important. Usually, most guys that really got it going on, the winging his suit means that you're the help in some capacity. You're the help. The boss don't wear no motherfucking suit unless it's a special occasion. The help got to wear a suit all the time. All right, brother, we're going to need you there at 4 o'clock now. Well, my dad died. Okay, well, I'm going to need you there at 5 o'clock after the funeral. Billy, a motherfucking indentured servant and don't even know it. Same as that character that Brad Pitt played in 12 Years a Slave. Shout out to Arizona. And I'm so glad that was depicted in that movie. So glad that was depicted in that movie. There's many stories about it. I watched a woman from Cambridge University give a whole lecture and break down the different, I guess you say, class tiers of whites. Peckerwood crackers, had a couple other names for them. These were names that white people gave other white people to define their class. Most of this insinuated that they were inbred, not of high stature as far as intellectually, poor, rural, not very versed, however you want to define it. And those same characters and constrictions last to this day. Oh, make no mistake about it, there's tons of poor white trash. I live in New England. There's tons of poor white trash. You kidding me? Poor white trash? What is this you speak of? Bring them to me, make them dollars. And they will for the dollar, trust me. Oh, a motherfucker that's poor white trash is worse than any nigga you could ever find in life. Oh, please believe that. Poor white trash has a non-empathy factor like in no other that you've ever seen. So much of a fact, he'll go in the grocery store, post office, whatever. Fuck it, I hate everybody that worked here anyway. Let me kill everybody. Let me kill everybody. Get this out the way. Oh yeah, ain't nothing more special than poor white trash. I'm gonna share that actual Cambridge University lecture with you guys so you can check it out and define it for yourself. Or maybe I'll make a video out of it, whatever, I don't know. But either way, it'll get to you, as I always promise and always do. And you can see for yourself. Oh, there's class ranks amongst whites like a motherfucker. In fact, those same class systems are with so many minorities to this day, specifically Indian and Middle Eastern people. When you talk about the ascension of the British West Indian Tea Company, when you talk about the East Asian slave trade that happened, a lot of motherfuckers don't want to talk about. Oh, you already know? East Asians, and that includes brown ones and ones with slanted eyes, were getting traded and mewed for the longest. I think China was under condition of Europe, or specifically England, for about 100 years. Yes, China. India, I believe, was the same way. So they get a lot of this class system within themselves that they still practice to this day. Dark-skinned East Indians don't contend very well in society in places like New Delhi and places like that. I know this very thoroughly. They don't talk about it here. They'll come here and act like, okay, now I'm the man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, in your country, or you're treated worse than you're trying to attempt to treat me. When that's the circumstance. That's not always a circumstance, so I don't want to hold all Indian and Middle Eastern people to that accord or from Bangli or wherever, because all of them are not like that. You know what I mean? Not at all. I've had some wonderful conversations with some of my East Indian brothers, and a lot of them live in the Caribbean because of that British West Indian Tea Company. You know, a lot of your favorite stars, including Nicki Minaj, and a couple other artists, are mixed in with that Indian blood. Believe it or not, y'all can tell as soon as I looked at what's her name, as soon as I looked at Nicki Minaj's face, I said, yeah, she got that Indian blood in it. Like this Trini girls and those Belizean girls and like Rihanna and all those girls, you can tell the Indian they got in them. Bayesian, excuse me. And I'm not talking about Indian like, tribal United States. I'm talking about Indian like East Indian. Those people have been there for a very long time. So are the Chinese. The Chinese have been there. There's Chinese, Jamaicans, and people from Belize and it'll come right up to you talking patois. What gone, star? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Big things happen for me. You can't get, you can't do. You don't see me. All that shit. Hey, I lived in the Bronx. Ain't nothing but Jamaicans over there. After a while, you start deciphering that shit, figure that shit out. Motherfuckers be talking all kinds of shit. You see a Yankee boy come up in here, I want to deal with a royalty. You all royalty, huh? Where you royalty for? Where you got a Jamaican girlfriend? She got a big puss a hole. What you deal with? You know what I'm saying? Like this Jamaican men are abrasive as fuck. You can fuck with nobody say. You know what I'm saying? The women too. I dated one from Ocho Rios. Woo! Country motherfucker. Jungles. She was cool though. Shout out to Kaisha, man. She's cool. She's cool. Me and her stayed cool even after the breakup. You know what I mean? That's fact. That's fact. This wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. The illest women I ever dealt with was Haitian women. Oh boy, Haitian women. But let me stay on code. For real. I had, let me just say this real quick. It doesn't matter, I had one child in my life, and I said this story before, by a Haitian woman, Saint-Hilaire, from Pétionville. On compris, mademoiselle, oui. We had one daughter together. Our daughter was born premature and she died. And I'll be telling you, I'll be having a lot of shit I done went through. And I was at the company at this time when I went through all this. Nobody knew. I just started there. And our daughter died, and I got to see her live for about 8 months. When she was born, you could see through her. Her mama was dark. Chocolate motherfucker. But beautiful. Real hair. Most beautiful smile you ever seen in your life. Some people thought that she was actually Dominican. She was just dark. And I can see why. Because a lot of Dominicans are mixed with Haitian. A lot of Haitians are mixed with Dominican. You know what I mean? So, and being that they're so close together, there's an area that they do marketing. I forgot what the town is called. But all the vendors and stuff that go to this area, you meet people, and relationships are started. And then after, I think it was a hurricane there in Haiti, a whole bunch of Haitian citizens were granted access to the Dominican Republic. Believe it or not, they don't just walk back and forth over there. And subsequently, they stayed there for years, started families or whatever. I think most of them have been there for about 10 years. And some of them had babies by Dominican girls. Some of them had babies by, you know what I mean? Vice versa. Haitian men had babies by Dominican women. And Haitian women that had babies by Dominican men. So, by whatever means the inception was, prostitution, voluntarily, relationship, whatever. So, there's a lot of prostitution going on in the Dominican Republic. Please believe that. So, back to this on code thing. This shit existed all throughout the islands, all throughout the world, is the point in the deposition of everything that I'm saying, and it still exists. A lot of people, you put them in the face of somebody white, they change up their appearance, they change up their vote, because to them, and people that are unbeknownst to that world, to them, that means everything. Once they show, I have learned your education, I have learned how to speak properly, instead of putting it into its proper context, which all that education should have showed them. But you can give somebody an education by two different means. You can further somebody's education socially and through a book, collegiately, by that person already having intelligence in the first place, and then being introduced into that segment of life. That's one thing. Then you have another segment where you have people, and I will not only include black people, I'll include people like the Kennedys and many other people, the Bushes as well. Prescott Bush was a traitor to this country. You understand what I'm saying? The Bushes lived right here in Connecticut for a while, if y'all didn't know that. Oh, yes, they did. Lived in West Haven. The daddy went to Yale, so did the son. I forgot what Barbara Bush went to, actually, but she ended up going to Yale or graduating with her doctorate from Yale, one of the two. But, yeah, they used to live right here, and then they ended up going back to Texas because of the free taxes. The taxes. Taxes will make a motherfucker move nowadays, won't it? This on code thing is nothing but a simulation. I want you to spread it along to your friends. It's not okay. It's not all right. In actuality, what you should be is start becoming more lucid to being yourself. Being yourself. And I speak that for all minorities. Oh, there's a lot of brown nose in that. You know, there's a term they used to have for Asian people that try to pretend like they were actually Anglo-Americans. They used to call them bananas. White on the inside, but yellow on the outside. That's how they termed it. It's not my term. We used to have a terminology when I went to school for East Indians. They did the same behavior. Kissing that. And then from afar, you know, a lot of these people profess that they're so educated, they're so intellectual, but they never point out the fact of one thing. Perception. My perception of what I see of you. And whether you believe it or not that I'm not inclined to articulate my emotions or what I'm thinking, that's on you. I use it to my advantage. You know what I mean? That's what real hunters do. You're not a hunter, you're a gatherer. You come out behind us. I know the motherfucking difference. And people need to start pushing out more so, again, the actual narrative here as far as the pecking order is concerned. There is a pecking order. Oh, there's a pecking order. I know a punk motherfucker from a mile away when I see one. I don't care what color you are. I know a punk motherfucker. Punk motherfuckers do certain shit. All for it to get a trophy under the guise of a simulation. You don't understand that? Rags and tatters. Rags and tatters, as I said before. Shout out to Arizona. These rags and tatters and trinkets, these motherfuckers have nothing else in their life would be better. These rounds and trinkets they seek. When they get them, all they do is two-step. Thank you, master. Thank you. Thank you so much. Because these motherfuckers have never been anywhere close to that. To them, this is the epitome of their utopia. Or have they pictured it? I'm at the top tier now, master, and accepting me. Yeah, as a help. As a fucking help. Oh my God, I say that more emphatically towards, and not in a racial tone, but I say that more emphatically towards Latinos than I do anybody. I've heard now 3 senators say that Latinos in this country are now the new slave labor. That's what they said. These are 3 white senators. African Americans had seen it probably a year back, if not years back. It said the same thing. And I say this because they work all the jobs that we don't want. You work long hours for those jobs too. I'm talking about Americans. I'm not talking about black. I'm half Latino. I can't say shit like that. I'm talking about Americans, bred Americans. A lot of these immigrants, depending on, no matter what country they're from in these days, they'll work that job. They're working hard. And I commend that. But your little Toyota Corolla, or that little motherfucking used 2013 BMW, that's not impressing me. I had a man that had that same 2013 BMW the year it came out, that 740. I know niggas about the time they were 32 that was in Dubai with a residence. That's money. That shit you talking about is some hood booger shit. I don't do those. You understand what I'm saying? I just had a conversation with a gentleman tonight when I was in the store because he tried to throw me on something, speaking on code. Let me give you an example of this. So I'm in the corner store, grab a couple of these or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So homie and Ak ain't supposed to be doing that anyway. If y'all follow me, if y'all from the tri-state, you know what I'm talking about. So Ak ain't supposed to be doing that anyway. So it's already, you know what I mean, a sizzle to it. Homie is in line in front of me. I walk past him when I walk in the store. I go to the back of the store. I get me an Arizona. I get me some chips. And then walk proceed to the line. This older black gentleman, later I found out, was 57 years old, which is 3 years shy of 60, 8 years shy of retirement age here in this country. This gentleman then proceeds to have some disagreement with the gentleman at the register, which is none of my business. I say to myself at that time, okay, let him go about his business, whatever. It is at this point that I've noticed this, and I've noticed this a million times. I've recorded it on camera, and I keep trying to express to you guys. The older these black guys are, these older white guys included, and especially these older Spanish guys as well, the older they are, what they try to do is they try to profess on their lifestyle and their history of what they went through or whatever, and trying to influence it on you. This man was in the store. This was at 8 o'clock buying a beer. He popped the beer in the store. So your indulgence doesn't even have a hindering stick. Okay? Your indulgence supersedes any other thing you got going on. Your indulgence and your instant gratification. That supersedes everything. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm looking at OGGGG. These are the motherfuckers some of y'all call, these are elders. Man, fuck these motherfuckers. Nigga, you spent your whole motherfucking, y'all want me to speak plain? I'm gonna speak plain. Nigga, you spent your whole motherfucking life out here fucking around in the hood or whatever. Did I play the game? Yes, I played the game too. I played it on different stakes than you played, and I paid bigger consequences, and when I got caught, it was big. 2 times. You understand what I'm saying? I got the fuck back out and said, let me get the fuck back on. You know what I mean? A lot of people that know me, ask me, why don't I do that now? I say, that was over 20 something years ago. I have no interest in that lifestyle. Is it good money? Yeah. It's excellent money. At one time, I was doing that and the music business too at the same time. It was ridiculous. So that's why I tell a motherfucker, if you never seen $100,000 in your life, don't ever get in a fucking conversation with me. You know what I'm saying? About no motherfucking money. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever ride past me in your Honda Accord trying to show off or rev your engine. Motherfucker, I have pictures of me in Bentleys, Lambos, Porsches, all that shit. This motherfucker rode past me one day. He had a used 2013 BMW Panorama. Excuse me, Porsche Panorama. The Porsche Panorama was introduced in 2013 on the European side. So they have a model that is a mirror of that one that was introduced in limited number here in the United States. Right? Now, back then that was a big deal. But since this car has caught so much appeal, it's not a big deal. You know what I'm saying? It's like a dime out of a dozen. Who gives a shit? This guy ride past me and I'm thinking to myself, my boy had that shit when it dropped. He had it in baby blue, you know. So I just I laugh at a lot of people because this on code shit doesn't make sense when the only people you try to stun on all the time is your own people. I heard Fabulous say it best one time. He said, you know what? I don't come here to stun on the people. I come here to inspire the people. Inspire. And a lot of these old motherfuckers just don't inspire. In fact, a lot of these old motherfuckers should be ashamed of themselves. This archaic Negro decided now that old mantra they always go to, oh, you think you better than me? Well, let me tell you what he said before. He said beforehand, he had brought up and mentioned, he said, well, you black like me, which made me rebuttal and say, motherfucker, I'm nothing like you, all right? If you're defining a skin tone as us having some type of unilateral experience, I beg to fucking differ. Because I know other men that are 57 years old and they don't look like fucking you. But my dad was 57 years old. He didn't fucking look like you. And he damn sure wasn't in the corner store at 8 o'clock at night buying a fucking beer and cracking it open on the motherfucking counter and then demanding that the motherfucker, after that perception, this is what I mean by black people, minorities in general, and their lack of coherence when it comes to perception. You understand what I'm saying? There's some perceptions that can't be avoided. There's some presumptionists that can't be avoided. We get that. But when you put yourself in a designated spot where the shit can be defined, you understand what I'm saying? Saying that you're walking and you got this little bop to you. There's nobody around and it's 3 o'clock in the fucking morning. And you asking yourself, why the fuck they fucking with me? Well, they might be fucking with you, nigga, because you look like a drug dealer. You look like a drug dealer. If a white boy's out and he's rolling around and this motherfucker got an AK-47 on him, as we found in Times Square in New York, this motherfucker might be a problem. Potentially. Let's get him, Scotty. People don't take in condition the way they are viewed. And instead, they try to project what they think should be viewed. If that makes any sense to you. How was your weekend, Karen? Oh, was it bitching? Y'all ain't never seen that shit? I have never seen nobody. Let me tell you something. Between the two genders, I'm going to keep it a buck. If we're talking about cooning and perplexity, ain't no motherfucking cooning going beyond the cooning that I've seen a segment of black women involved in. Oh, I've seen it at its highest steps. I had a bitch one night. I'm gonna say it just the way it is. I had a bitch one night. It was the last train to come home, okay, from New York City. If I didn't catch that train at I think it was 1:53, I would have to wait until 5:48 in the morning, which I have no problem. I know the town, so I know I go to my man's house, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, all right, that's cool. But right now, my stomach is grumbling. I got a little stash at the house. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know how it is. And so I had my mouth fixed on some shit. I said, yo, when I get home, I'm gonna cut me a piece of this and eat this. You know how you be. This motherfucking asshole, and the mistake I made was I gave her a chance. But when I looked at her, I shouldn't have gave her a chance because she looked like just one of these, and I hate to say it like this, she looked like one of these hood booger broads that around her neighborhood, she was a terrible ass person. But at her job, she came and pretended that she was actually something other than what she was. And I see this problem a lot, not only with MTA workers, which if y'all know what MTA workers are, they're basically the people that run the trains, buses, and all that shit, and their employees included. They hire some real low-tier motherfuckers. Real low-tier. The people they hire are amongst the most shittiest people you will ever meet in your life. Don't be black and ask one of these motherfuckers a question. Oh, they'll give it to you if you're white too. But don't be black or Latino and ask one of these motherfuckers a question. The first thing they want to do is get confrontational with you based on a pure simple fact. They know if you attack one of them, you understand what I'm saying? You're facing a lengthy term, which we've all found out. You're just facing a lengthy term because nobody actually gets sentenced to that shit unless you did something real heinous. Now, I'm willing to bet I can sit back for a year for beating your motherfucking skull in for some dumb shit you done did. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not gonna make any motherfucking reservations about a lot of them MTA workers. All right, a lot of those MTA workers are ghetto as shit. They're not nice people. They only kiss ass with white people because they think they're gonna get something out of it. Oh, there's a distinct difference. When they're collecting your ticket, I hate when somebody, I'm not gonna say all the time, but I hate 70% of the time when it's somebody black or Latino collecting the tickets. Because if you look better than they do in their regular fucking life, they are not going to like you. It's all about jealousy. Oh, no. It's not about anything else. It's the same interaction with this gentleman tonight. And I'm going to finish that story out in a second. But they're not going to be nice to you. You just gotta expect it. This is an age-old thing. If you don't believe me, look at the fucking way Stephen looked at Django when he was pulling in on the plantation. Do you need any more? Who that nigga on that nag? Now I asked you, who that nigga on that nag? Because he looked like competition. These coward motherfuckers are scared to compete against anybody real. And the only thing they want to do is compete against their own on some bravado, low budget shit. Look at me, nigga, we in the same pissy elevator, but I got new sneakers on. This is how lowbrow the mentality is. You understand what I'm saying? Another reason for you to send your kids to fucking private school so they won't be around these fucking dodos. White, black, Latino, indifferent. Because everybody at the public schools now look like they just went total retard. You know what I'm saying? If you ask my opinion. But that's another subject. This older gentleman then proceeded to argue with me after he said what he said, and I rebutted to him, and I said, no, you're not like me. I said, in fact, where did you go to college at? He makes up a lie. But what stuck out to me was the fact of the area he said it was and what that area is known for. That area is not known for being collegiate. That area is known for the brims and the bullshit. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't mean no gangs, I mean brimstone. You know what I mean? On here. Because I don't want to offend nobody, because I really don't believe everybody is out there like that. But a high proportion of them motherfuckers is out there. Some of the laziest, lousiest, shittiest attitude having motherfuckers ever. I'm parted out there and everything else. I can't say I can't stand everybody out there, but I'll say there's some shitty fucking people there and the other spot that's the state capital. Oh, some of the most shittiest people in the state come from them two areas. And they bring that shitty ass attitude they got with them. Now I'm an asshole. I make no qualms about it. But I'm not a troublemaker. That's the difference. I'm an asshole, but I'm not a troublemaker. I can live with being an asshole. But what I find so many times when it comes to black and Latin people, because of this code shit, they like to start shit with their own. Especially if they come from backgrounds like that. Now, Candace Owens is from here in Stamford, Connecticut. She's from Fruit Street. Shout out to Candace Owens. You may not agree with everything she says. Jen Psaki, who is the U.S. press secretary. All right, she reads out everything for Biden. She's from right here in Stamford, Connecticut. All right? So, we know the difference here in New England, and I say the fucking tri-state period, when you're just a New England, New Yorker, Jersey type motherfucker, you're a townie if you want to call it. And we know the difference between when you're a shit starting fucking fuck. Real quick. Oh, real quick. So there's guys like me, tough nail guys, old school a little bit. I can get it. And then there's guys that are this forever 21 type motherfuckers, like this gentleman tonight. I ignore this gentleman because I'm trying not to embarrass you after I said what I said to him. And I told him very quickly, I don't believe you. I said, what was your major? He said, mathematics. I looked at this motherfucker, I said, don't nothing about you say math. He said, I was real good with numbers, nigga. That was a dream you had. Don't nothing about you say math. And there's no fucking major at that. If you would have said economics, we might have had a conversation. You said my major was mathematics. I said, get the fuck out of here. 57 years old, and this is what you got to show. Nothing. The only thing you was talking about your whole fucking life was your allegiance to the hood. And look where they left your ass. Look where they left you. Look where they left you. That's where their allegiance to that being on code for that shit leads to. It leads you by your fucking self. You believe whatever the fuck you want to. They killed Pablo Escobar, motherfucker. They killed motherfucking Scarface at the end of the movie. Matter of fact, tell me one set of drug dealers except for motherfucking Nas and Belly that got away. In real life or phone. Because it doesn't happen. I answer it for you. It doesn't happen. Very few of these guys retire if they ever do. Griselda Blanco, motherfucker killed and shrilled and made multi-millions of dollars. Griselda Blanco. A la mujer colombiana. A la mujer colombiana met her demise after she did a bid, after she got out of jail and returned to Colombia. They got her. They got her. You see your allegiance to that bullshit, as you can see by these 30 rappers that got killed last year. I don't know how many it is this year. I'm going to do something soon for that. I'll wait a couple months. I'm side of that too, the streets. So when we talk about this on code bullshit, or when you suggest somebody off code or try to check somebody, because I see a lot of that out here. Motherfuckers running up to people they don't even know and trying to check them. Like this man trying to check me. Oh, you think you better than me. They always have that phrase. That's not that old nigga phrase. You think you better than me. Huh, don't you never. I'm sorry, Stink Meaner. I'm sorry, Stink Meaner. Oh, that a wretched, loudmouth ass nigga. That's what he sounded like. I said, uh-oh. You about to start tap dancing and where's the chickens and watermelon? Anybody got some collard greens? He's gonna need them. He just went full slave on me. And he's doing this in front of a white man and an Indian man. And I guess his next approach would be, you know how old I am? Yeah, old enough that I don't want to fucking ever be like you fucking loser. Fuck you. I've had my hard times. I ain't never fucking been like that. Ever. Fuck you. And fuck everything you stand for, you motherfucker. You have some fucking allegiance to the hood at 57 years old. You're a fucking idiot. You understand what I'm saying? Do you own the building? Do you own any property there? Are you even invested in a company on fucking trade? Are you? If you're not, you're just there. You're there, you're symbiotically gonna be hovered up amongst the crowd for about 15 to 20 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And then they won't give a fuck about you. They won't give a fuck about you. Trust me on this. Nobody gives a fuck about hood stars. Especially now. Think of all the ones they forget. XXXTentacion, he died tragically. Anybody really fucking mention his name? DMX died from a drug overdose. Anybody mention his name anymore? Black Rob, anybody mention his name anymore? Fred the Godson, my friend. Anybody mention him anymore? You understand what I'm saying? You get where I'm going with this? Nobody mentions these guys, and these guys' accolades were way higher than some fucking corner store drug dealer shit. So when we speak of this on code shit, what are we actually talking about? Like, how is this defined? You know what I mean? Because if it's a code of ethics that has to deal solely with the hood or whatever, I'm here to tell you from a person that participated, it's fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. It leads to nothing but fucking destruction. And I don't give a fuck what you're talking about. You don't have to like me for saying this, but if you look anywhere like Chicago, if you look anywhere like Florida, if you look anywhere like LA, if you look in this fucking state that I'm in right now, or if you look specifically in New York, what you're gonna see is something totally different. And what you're gonna see is, in Chicago last fucking weekend, there was 90 people that were shot out there. Okay? 90 people, all of them black and Latino. There's a video of this Latino brother getting out the car and shooting this dude and his girl. And homie, he was brave enough to shield his girl, and he died. Then we got out to get married. You understand what I'm saying? They were about to get married. So this code of ethics of being on code and walking up to black and Latin folks and trying to check them because condescendly they don't look the way you want. Or he don't look hood enough for me. He don't look hood enough for me. Well, you know what? The Italians wore fucking suits. I always talk about Italians because I've been around them most of my fucking life. The Italians wore suits. Do you see them having any fucking problem? Huh? I bet you were scared of them, huh? Why? Because of color? Because innately inside you, whether you be black or Latino, Your ultimate goal is to be fully assimilated so you'll fucking be accepted. And I'm here to tell you, after 500 years, any African American can tell you in this country, any Indian American is still over their country, and any real Latino that's in the fucking islands, they'll tell you the same. You ain't gonna never be accepted in this country. Puerto Ricans climbed to the Statue of Liberty and put the Puerto Rican flag on the fucking Statue of Liberty in the 1980s. You know why they did this? Out of pure liberation. And you know what? Liberation here in the United States. Now, the ironic thing is, Puerto Rico is one of our U.S. territories under the Jones Act of the 1920s. It's a maritime act. Look it up. That's why Puerto Ricans are naturalized citizens and so easily they're a territory under the Jones Act. It was later amended. It was called the Jones-Stafford Act. I believe it was amended in 1927, if I'm right, but it's a maritime law. A maritime law, meaning for boats and ships and shit. Oh, I'm tired of these archaic niggas. And I'm tired of these archaic white men walking around too. I don't know, out of all the bunches, I think the archaic white man and the archaic black man are the two worst. Because they have unilaterally this collection of thoughts of subservience and master. And some of these same old motherfuckers are trying this with me, and I look at them sometimes and they think, I guess subliminally, the suggestion that they're offering towards me should work, because it's always worked for them. No longer, and once again, perception comes into mind, no long wind of thought ever gave into their mind of, well, things have changed. It's 2021, they might be a little bit smarter. Don't believe me? Remember what Calvin Candy used to say? Then we sit at the dinner. He said, oh, I believe it's 1 in 10,000. You are that nigga, aren't you? And then he ended up, he said, so, to the gentleman with the mustache. And his what? Unimpressive nigga. You can't make this shit up. The depictions are there, pure and simply because they exist. Let me see what everybody's saying here. I'm sorry, guys. Peace 305 Capricorn, what's going on? Annette Foster, what's going on, sister? You are corrected by Chicago and 2 cops shot tonight. See what I'm talking about? Hot 99 WSLS, the Truth Now talk show. Hey. Thank you very much, Annette. You know what? I found out that a lot of people don't know about the black Asians. I'll send you some pics. I know about the black Asians in China. They live on an island. The truth is about that trash. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Hey, Davin, what's going on? How you doing? All right, I just want to make sure I read everybody's comment. Sometimes I start talking, I don't read you guys' comments. I'm sorry about that. Pardon me. This on code shit is bullshit because it's not being practiced. It's not being practiced amongst the people. If you interact and you change your personality, first of all, that's a mental condition. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. That's a mental condition to me. Because you're saying to yourself directly, I'm going to change my tone, my appearance, and everything else. And I say this all the time. I grew up around a lot of Italians and Greeks. They know when you're brown-nosed. Oh, God, we got a brown. In fact, most Italians and Greeks I know, they'll change the way they treat you based off the fact that you're brown-nosed. I got a man that speaks to me every day when I go through the train station here. And he always speaks to me not out of being a jerk or being an asshole. He'll just plainly wave at me or whatever. But I had an interaction with him. He's Italian. And he saw that my fucking, yeah, I got a little bravado and all that shit, but I'm natural. This is how I am. Does that make sense? And so I can't give any faux notion or faux energy or anything like that. I just have to give it direct. And to be quite honest with you, I love black and Spanish people. I really do. But I see a lot of kiss-assing going on. And for readily, in comparison to me and my and the life that I've lived thus far, even though it not be currently, well, in some regard, but it's no comparison. So you're basically doing all that, and you're willing to sell your people out for $15 a fucking hour. You're willing to put your dignity on out for $15 an hour. I've been several times in the Bronx and in Harlem. With one time a girl I was dating, and another time with somebody else. And then another time, well, actually several times, they came back and told me about their own experiences where they would be in a store, and two of the Latina girls were like me, the negrita. So they would tell me about how other Latinos would follow them around the store, acting like they stole some shit. I'm like, word? And then I was actually with homegirl one night, and this shit happened. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Or every time, light-skinned Latino. Not white Latino, light-skinned Latino. Or brown, or beige. I say the same thing. Like this, if you got brown nipples and brown knees, bitch, you one of us. White people don't have any brown whatsoever. The closer you get to some brown nipples, if you get a lot of the Irish girls will have that or whatever, but they've got a tint of, what's the name of them? And you'll find here and there, brownish, pinkish, but those nipples, those are the things that give you away. That's a Negroid in you. And if you got brown or black nipples, which I done been with enough Spanish women in my life, let's put it that way, we know it's to be true. You understand what I'm saying? Really? You think you white, huh? Show us your titties. Let's get this discussion off the ground. Show us your titties. Show us your titties, Brittany. I'm playing. Anybody remember that quote? Davin, I've seen this all too well in the workplace where a lot of Hispanics treat black people just as bad or worse as Caucasians. Some of them want to be white as so bad, especially in the workplace. No worries about you reading our comments. We are tuned into what you're saying. Thank you. How can I address that? A lot of it has to do with the past colonization within their own cultures. I mentioned how the Asians, specifically China, were under English rule for over 100 years. The accumulation of the British West Indian Tea Company, which was East Indians and natively enough the British, that was all under colonization. The accumulation of that. And most of the islands in the Caribbean were either French, Dutch, Spaniard, or whatever. But particularly with the Spaniards, when you say that, you have to understand that the Spanish conquistadors inflicted what they inflicted on Arawak Indians, Mayan Indians, Aztec Indians. These are not the same people as they once were. You know what I'm saying? So as much as they say, and they point, and they try to say this pure shit or whatever, you're not pure unless you came off that ship. Everything else was raped and pillaged by 15, 16, and 17-year-old soldiers. Y'all don't believe? Listen. What played into play while those soldiers were so young is they used to recruit those soldiers at 15, 16, 17 years old. So if you know, because of the lifespan was so short, you know, you could die of anything back then. We didn't have the medical breakthroughs that we have now. So we're talking about, at that time, 15-something. You understand what I'm saying? So, of course, you know, people were dying of scurvy because their blood wouldn't clot. You have so many depictions of this within Latin America, and I know intimately how what is now Latin America came to be, especially Brazil. Brazil, if you guys don't know, has the highest population, the highest concentration of blacks outside of Africa in the whole entire world. Brazil. Yes, Brazil. Research that for yourself if you don't believe me. And they all live in the favelas, which is the ghetto. A lot of them don't. A lot of them reach superstardom. So, but they come with their own oppressions and everything like that, or whatever. And it's the American culture. These same people try to assimilate. I've seen it now with a star that was running in Brazil for Miss Brazil. She came up against a lot of oppression, including people making mockery commercials of her and everything else. I implore you to go look that up. Beauty pageant contestant. Beautiful woman. But she's black, you know? So, you know, this whole framework of even racism itself exists because of one person. You know, that one person applied those ideals to somebody else, and here we are. But I don't take with this new wave of simulation. I don't hold it kindly. I don't like it. I'm fearful when I have children. They're going to be employed to investigate what's going on, and will they be scared enough to tell me? I never know, you know? So that's some of the questions that I've got moving forward as far as this on code bullshit is concerned, and how it's implemented amongst each other. If you could bring your voice to talk to a white person, you should be in your voice the same fucking octave when you're talking to another minority. And if you only hold reservation of talking nicely to other white people and don't hold that eyebrow and don't look back and say to yourself, okay, these white people may not like me. They might just be liking me for this particular project, something I have to offer, whatever. If you engage with other minorities like that and you are a minority, I think you're the shit of the crop. You hold no fucking you hold nothing for us except for your own narcissistic whims. That's it. That's it. What do you have to offer us? You are subservient. You are a servant. You are going over there with the intention of serving someone else of another color. And whether that be right or wrong by whose ever definition, by mine, I don't give a shit. But once you do that, and I'm saying this from the scope of, I worked for blacks for 17 years. Once you do that, the ideology and the mentality that you pick up from there, because you came into it subservient. There's a quote in 12 Years a Slave I love that he says, you know, with a strong, he said it's a couple of us. How did he say it? I forgot how Solomon said it, but he said, with a few of us, I think we could overcome the crew. And he said, these is niggas, born and bred slaves. Niggas ain't got no stomach for a fight. Niggas ain't got no stomach for nothing. Niggas only fight with their own. And I'm tired of it. And I think a lot of other people should be tired of it. I've told people to their face, had this been not even 5 years ago, I probably would have laid so many in you, you would have never got up. And I would have made sure you never got up. And we would have got rid of you easily. That's how we were. That's where I'm on record as. You know? I make no qualms about that. And they never expect it because I'm a gentleman. You understand what I'm saying? And sometimes that gentleman posture, it's, how can I say it? It's a bad thing to have amongst other African Americans, and it's a bad thing to have amongst whites, and it's a bad thing to have against Latinos if you are this skin tone, unfortunately. This is what Patrice Gardner is mentioning. It's all part of, we can assimilate faster. It's all with their greed of wanting to be American, wanting to be accepted. So if that wanted to be accepted, and another thing you have to realize, a lot of Latinos are fighting for your place. I've heard the man from the Proud Boys say personally, we're at war with them. They believe that they're at war with you, but socially, economically, Latino men don't make more than black men. So, and they definitely don't get the positions. They definitely don't get the positions. The demographics show that. I don't have to exaggerate that. The demographics show that. Look them up for yourself. They're available very easily. Go to the Department of Labor for any state and go collectively for the whole fucking what's the name through the CDC. You'll see for yourself. Social economically, no, they can't compare. Many white men can't compare social economically to black men. But, you know, that's another discussion I'll have at another time, especially in the building I worked at. I worked at 1540 Broadway, I worked at Interscope, I worked at Atlanta. All three of those record companies were distributors for our company, Bad Boy Entertainment. So I've been through all three of those buildings, and the majority of the people that worked in the buildings, yes, they were white. But on our floor, since we were our own entity, Most of the workers were black, white, and Latino. Very few were other than that. So in the work environment place, and all those whites, blacks, and Latinos were all unilaterally all into hip hop. So that's where, outside of other things, being American, I think, and other things like that, we share the interests. And what I mean by that is, if I could sit in a store and I could say word for word, quote, Madonna's song, or word for word, quote, Prince's song, or word for word, quote, many other things that come as a familiarity to me in my childhood growing up here in the States, yet you can't. We're not saying that's a problem, but like we say about a chick that look all right, she ain't gorgeous, but don't brag on her. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I have no problem with you being here, but don't sit here and stunt like we're gonna fight for dominance, because you will see, you will lose. You have no economic power, really. The economic power that you do have ties into hundreds of thousands. And you haven't realized that. Same thing goes for the modern day East Indian. With things opening these corner stores, which most of y'all are in fucking debt. Most of y'all go, like I know 3 of them, 4 of them, they're in pure debt. They told me themselves before, I'm about to sell this place. They're in debt. Whether it be by taxes, whatever the case may be. As most businesses. Most businesses diminish within a year, the first year start. Most businesses don't even go outside the term of even 5 years if they're a mediocre business. You heard me say I worked at the same company for 17 fucking years. All right, the business was already established 7, 8 years when I first got introduced to the company. You understand what I'm saying? So this is an established business. Shout out to Pump for that. He doesn't get credit for that. That's why I told you, stop all this. You make me feel ass promotion you doing. What the fuck you doing? I'm trying to take a step back. Aggressive. You get back in your ass later too. I love you though, nigga. But you I'm gonna end this with this. If we're gonna use this on-code bullshit as some type of terminology that people should follow, whatever, then make it this. Make sure that your motherfucking asses, when you talk about that shit, you imply the same code with your own people. And that's all I ask. My name's David Lewis, guys. I'll probably go live with you one more time. I'm gonna give me another Arizona. And I'm gonna be back with you guys. I think I got another topic, 2 topics actually that I want to talk to you guys about that I think you all will be interested in. Actually, I think the whole subject matter and the premise itself, you guys will be interested in. Also, guys, Cash App and PayPal's down in the description blocks. Please hit those up. We need more people to support this damn channel. Shout out to TMH Global, Annette Boston, Patrice Gardner, and everybody else that showed up here tonight. That's Cash App, $STRINGERBELL 80, Stringer Bell 80. Again, that's Cash App, $STRINGERBELL 80. Catch your Cash App or you catch it on PayPal. Donate and support this channel. I'm telling you guys, once I get even more equipment and TMH, I'm going to get that Amazon wish list thing over to you because I found something we can do. So I'm going to send that Amazon wish list thing to you too as well. But once we can do this, once we can literally get more equipment, all that shit or whatever, winter's approaching, I got other expenses and stuff like that too or whatever. But I'm a full-time blogger. This is how I make my money. So we can get more people connecting, donating as they do to these other channels. We can do so much more here. And the what's the name is going to be very different. The setup's going to be very different or whatever. I'm going to be out of a rooming situation, hopefully within the next month or 2 months, and be into a situation where I can just be open and clear or whatever, and I don't have to come outside. Plus, it's going to be starting to get colder a little bit anyway, so I'm not going to be outside doing lives for an hour in the freezing cold. So help me make something out of this. When I first started, I had people that used to buy things from me, and they helped in intention with getting me back and forth to New York so I could get the Bad Boy Entertainment. Yes, they did. I used to sell bootleg DVDs and CDs. I even had some Bad Boy artists in my bag sometime. Boy, I did it, you know, shit. And that little $5, $10 them folks was giving, it added up. So it doesn't have to be the amount that Thomas gives or Net has given or whatever. But throw in, if you've been listening to me for a while, throw in $5, $10, $20, whatever. Show some love, man. I see a lot of y'all and other people shit. Y'all donate to their super chats. I ain't gonna call no names though. Hey, yo, what's up, Dom Chick? What happened to you? I'll just fucking with you. She'll be back around sooner or later, hopefully. All right, guys, I'm out of here, and I will talk to you in a few minutes here.